Hi everyone, my name is Irina, and today I'll be talking about the leader-member exchange theory, also known as the LMX theory in short. So I'll be referring to this theory as LMX throughout the presentation, so you're not confused as to what I'm referring to. So LMX theory is centered on the idea that there is an interaction between a leader and a follower. So they what is described in the book have a dyadic interaction. Dyadic means that it happens between two people and that is two-way. So before this theory became official, leadership was thought of something that a leader did to the group of followers as a whole. However, this theory emphasizes how each leader interacts with each member individually, as opposed to just having a one-way interaction with the whole group. So in the early studies, the vertical dyad linkage theory was kind of like the first theory that they thought of before LMX. And what it describes a leader identified as the L circle on the right, on the left side of the photo, and it forms a unique bond with each member of the group. So on the left and on the picture, you can see that the leader forms an individual vertical dyad link with each member. So each dyad has its own exchange of information between the leader and the follower, as well as its unique characteristics between the two. So, based on the early studies, two types of relationships have emerged, and they are depending on where you fall depends on how well each group works with the leader and how well leader works with them. For example, in the in group, the followers in that group do more than just what their jobs require. So, in turn, they receive more special treatment from the leader, and what I like to describe is as buddy buddy with the leader. So on the right side, you see picture, and in the center is the leader. He is a big, huge stick figure, and the green people in the green little stick figures are the in group, meaning that they're close together. They have a lot more information exchange going on, and that they're just in their own group. And then the out group, um, they do um, the bare minimum of their job to help the leader, but do nothing above the expectations. So they're not very compatible with the leader, is the way I thought of it. So on the right side, you can see that there are stick figures outside of the in-group and the leader, and they're kind of like the outsiders. They have nothing special going on between the leader, and there's like no emotional connection that is going on between them. In the later studies, however, they decided to focus how focus on how quality of these interactions of a leader and follower relate to the success of the leader, follower, and the organization. And some major findings include the fact that the LMX theory was consistently related to member job performance, satisfaction, commitments, and turnover intentions. So this makes sense. If you have a high quality relationship with your leader or your boss or your manager or the lead worker, then you're more likely to enjoy your job, and therefore you receive more satisfaction. And then the more you're looking forward to coming to the job, as opposed to you going to the job where your leader or your manager does not like you, or that you've had issues with before. So they also found that those who had quality relationships with the leader were more likely to go beyond the prescribed role or and do engage in a positive employee citizenship behavior. I'm sure most of you know what citizenship behaviors are, but just to remind you, those are the behaviors that followers do or employees do that go above and beyond the employee pay grade. That could be something such as like attending committee meetings, or gathering together outside for lunch break or um, a lunch break. So that could be something of that sort, or just staying up later to commit to the deadline, and things like that. And then high quality relationships contribute significantly to increased followers' engagement energy, which in turn enhanced their creativity at work. So just to clarify, I think the study is trying to say that um, creativity is not really linked with high quality relationships, but the high quality relationships do lead to more engagement energy from the follower, which means that they're more excited to go to work, and that way they're more excited to be expressive in their work, and therefore it enhances their creativity. So, in the leadership development domain, LMX theory proposes that leader must build a quality relationship with all followers and have organizational networks outside of the department that they work in order to benefit their own and organizational goals. So this means that not only do leaders have to have quality relationships with the people in their departments or the in and the out groups, they also have to have good networks outside of their departments. Um, and then the way they do it, explain it, is in the process of relationship development, and that happens over time in stages. So the first stage, the leader and the follower are strangers. That is the name of the phase. So interactions are more contract bound. That is like when you first get hired on your job, you mostly just do what you're expected to and you don't really talk much. And then followers act in the best interest of themselves and not the group and are not close to the leader. The way I relate to this is like when I first get a new job, I just kind of do whatever I'm expected to, and then I leave and never think about it ever again. So that is like the first phase. The second phase is when the leader and the follower become an acquaintances. They take steps to share personal or work-related information, develop greater trust for each other, and then they begin to lose self-interest and begin focusing on group goals. And then the third phase is when a mature partnership kind of forms between a leader and a follower, and that is when they establish a mutual respect and obligation so they can depend on each other and the relationship has been tested and survived. So that is when you've been performing your job for quite a while, so you already are familiar with everyone at your job, and that you have certain expectations, or you're kind of are eager to go back to work because you want to see the people that you've had fun with or that you enjoyed working with. Another domain, or kind of like a subsection of LMX theory, involves emotions. So leaders and followers share an emotional connection in phases, in order to build that high quality relationship. So first happens role taking. Role taking is when a leader, or sometimes a follower as well, initiates a process of establishing a relationship through cues. Um, so that could be like something that they personal that they share. For example, a leader will share that they have two kids, and then the follower. So that is something personal and outside of the job that they will share in order to try to establish that connection. And then role making is when a leader and a follower begin to develop exchanges and share emotional affection. So now followers kind of speak up and say, "Yes, I do have kids at home too." So they are able to connect on an emotional level because they know how it is like to be parents. So, and then role unionization happens when a relationship is formed and is been tested through time, but can also be changed due to the responsive of other followers in the group. So some followers may be given better treatment, so anger and contempt may develop. For example, because the leader and the member both share kids, the leader can maybe give an extension deadline to the follower that does have kids because they have to take care of their families first. So that is kind of like the special treatment that we talked about in the in group. So the people who are either on the out group or who are other followers can express anger and contempt because they're given better treatment than others. So how does this theory work? It is descriptive and it is prescriptive. So it is descriptive in a way that it says that there is an exchange of something, information, emotion, development between the follower and the leader. And these exchanges are relational. And they are two-way, which means that they are dyadic, kind of what we've mentioned before. And then it prescribes a leadership in the following ways. So the leader, first of all, leader should make a high quality relationship with all group followers, no matter if they are in an in group or if they are in an out group. And then the follower or leader should reciprocate if the one party does more than expected. So going back to what we talked about, the leader and the follower emotionally connecting to each other because they do have kids, so maybe given that extension to that follower is beneficial because now they know that the leader cares about their family. So now they're receive that. So now they feel compelled to kind of reciprocate that favor in a way which will give them more of like a time or will give them more motivation to do more than just what is expected just because the leader acted in a certain way um, to be not acted in a certain way. So the strengths of this theory is that it is descriptive, and it does say that it is kind of fair in a way. Those that get more receive more, but those who contribute less get less, kind of like in a group project. So if you do not put in the effort, then you do receive a lesser grade. So that is fair, at least in my opinion. And then it also demonstrates how leaders' behaviors affect follower performance. This theory has been tested in many ways, and then the traits and the behavior theories kind of fail to connect leaders' behaviors or traits to follower performance, while LMX theory kind of demonstrates that relationship through studying multitude of studies. And it makes sense because if a quality relationship exists, then there's more trust, respect, and more things that get accomplished because people like you as a leader. And also, other strengths is its emphasis on communication. So if there is an effective communication going on, then there is more trust, mutual respect, and that is how leader members' relationships sustain themselves. There is another emphasis, and it is on equity. So LMX theory does not just say that, yeah, you should treat an in-group really good, but you should just forget about the out-group. No. So you should give everyone an opportunity to succeed. And if they who and or who they become with. So for example, we need to, as leaders, avoid biases to include anyone in the in-group as opposed to just focusing in on the in-group and giving special privileges to that group. And then theory has been validated to performance outcomes through extensive research. That is very important because many research studies have proved its practicality in an organizational settings. And it is cross-cultural, which I thought was very interesting because many people from different cultures can relate to this theory in a way. So that is one of its strengths. And then there's a couple of criticisms that also make sense. For example, although LMX theory was not meant to be developed to create inequalities, it does support the development of privileged groups, such as the in-group or the out-group. And then it doesn't specify specifically what strategies a leader can use to integrate the out-group members into the in-group members. Well, that is problematic because the theory explains that we should try to give our attention to the out group, but does not specify how exactly we should do that. And then also, there's no clear guidance as to how to create a high quality relationship with followers. Well, there is the emotional part of it, such as like the role taking, kind of like going back to where we talked about member and a leader exchanging something personal, such as like having children. That is something outside of the work. Well, that just describes a process of how to create quality quality relationship, but it doesn't tell us how exactly to do that in steps or descriptive ways. Just kind of describes a process, but doesn't give us an exact way to kind of build that relationship with followers. So there's also no in-depth explanation as to how organizational norms, cultures affect LMX exchanges. So it could be because the our group exists, not because it's just it's bad at performing, or because they're not just really dedicated to their job. Maybe they're the way they were raised or the way the culture looks at a job can be different and than what the leader might expect just because they were born with different norms and cultures. So LMX theory does not really shed light onto that gray area. And then studies use different measurement tools, which do not yield comparable results. Well, that is a big criticism because how can we compare results if the different studies use different tools, which do not yield the same results? So there's definitely something to be questioned. So the application examples, and the way that I thought of this theory is that it describes leadership like a partnership more so. So if you look at the picture that I um, inserted into the slide on the right side, the leader in the gray area and the follower in the red, they both put in the same amount of work into making this relationship work. So that is what LMX theory is about, as opposed to just being one way or transactional between a boss and subordinate. So a boss just kind of gives directions to the subordinate, and subordinate is expected to do these things. And LMX theory does not describe leadership in that way. It is more like I said, a relationship and a partnership. So a personal example that I've witnessed is food service. When I worked a food at a restaurant, Cracker Barrel, part-time, I did not really take the time to establish any emotional connection with my manager or the coworkers. So that is probably why she micromanaged me a lot more than the others and treated me differently than those who she had a greater friendship with and that she knew more of. So, and then I definitely felt like a part of an outgroup because I didn't fit well with others and I had other priorities before work, such as school and like in my family. So I never did anything much of what I was expected. So that is definitely why I got treated the way I was treated. So rather than those people who were part of the in group for a while. And so whenever I quit, I kind of thought the manager ended up telling me that if we developed a closer relationship in some way, more of like outside of what the job was expecting me, I probably would have enjoyed working there more and did duties well beyond my pay grade, um, and kind of looked forward to going to the job. So that is definitely how LMX theory kind of puts it in a way. So in undergrad internship experience, my preceptor was more like a friend than a supervisor. She offered advice and asked me to perform certain things on my own. So that gave me the freedom to learn, and that is how she was taking on a role. Like she began exchanging personal information first, and then we began to kind of exchange valuable information between each other in a way. So that's how we were beginning to role make. And then I began to do more than I was expected in my internship. For example, I was only expected to redecorate a board to benefit the WIC office that I interned at. But I ended up doing more than that. I ended up attending group meetings um, that I wasn't supposed to go to, or perform extra work, such as create like little receipts that would show people different amounts that they can save being on WIC benefits. So that is definitely how we can think of LMX theory in a way that the more you put in, the more extra work you put in, the more extra work you are given. You're you're given, or that you're have a reciprocal relationship with those who trust you. And then at the health department that I interned at, the nursing director um, had monthly meetings with all healthcare professionals, such as nutritionists, social workers, case managers, and nurses. They all met together to discuss health department upcoming events, potlucks, and goals before the school season started. And that is something they didn't have to do. Like, that wasn't in their description at all. But they did it anyways because they believed in their relationship with the director, because she was really nice. She would stop by, ask how was vacation with kids, and always bring cookies to the break room for the healthcare workers. So that way, we can say that LMX theory applies not only to building a high quality relationship with followers, such as nutritionists in this case, but also with other people in your department, or different departments, such as social workers, case managers, and nurses in this case. Usefulness to my professional work. The pros are the LMX theory does in fact correlate leader behavior with follower performance, so it can help me be more aware of my actions. The fact that there are two types of groups, knowing the difference between the two can help me adjust my leadership style. And then, although vague, there is a process to developing an emotional connection, which is helpful in kind of taking on that role to become emotionally connected with my followers. And then the cons are that their cons to this is that I will automatically have an unconscious bias when it comes to labeling people as out group and the in group. That could definitely be problematic because I can treat people in a different way if they're in an in group than an out group. And then, of course, there is no clear guideline, like we've mentioned before, about how to integrate out group people into the in group people. And then not everyone is comfortable sharing an emotional connection. So the LMX theory does not really address that. It does kind of just say that it's a leader's responsibility to start sharing emotionally, but what if the follower does not want to? So what do we go from there? And that is kind of very unclear. So as a lead dietitian, I might use this to encourage RDNs to attend hospital staff meetings, even though it's not in their job description, just so they're more oriented about the changes that are happening in the workplace. And then also meeting one-on-one with the RDNs to discuss their progress, successes, and fails. That way I can stay connected with them in terms of their progress, and that way they can feel connected with me and feel important to this job. Although it is not required to meet with your manager, it is definitely will be helpful to kind of build that high quality relationship with the followers. Then lastly, interdisciplinary care. That'll be really important to kind of understand people on an emotional level. So then I can adjust my own behaviors to fit in with the group members. Not everyone works the same. So making sure that you kind of adjust to people's um, kind of like their function and how they function and how they work is very important. And then in summary, LMX theory is based on the idea that there is a mutual interaction between the leader and the follower. And some key concepts are the fact that a leader must strive to create a high quality relationship with both the in-group and the out-group members to increase team productivity. So that way, inequalities between the in-group and the out-group do not overshadow team productivity. And then high quality relationships also depend on emotional connection that a leader and a follower experience. It is really hard to relate to people if you don't know what's going on with them emotionally. And then, although not specified, both a leader and a follower can initiate an emotional connection. Thank you so much.